I had a lot on my mind recently, and to clear my head, I decided to take my cat Max out for an early morning walk. While waiting for Max to sniff this and that, I happened to look up at the sky and saw this full moon, glowing, beautiful. And opposite the moon, there was a single bright star. It was magical. I'm not one of those full moon chasers, but when I happen to see one, I'm often awestruck. Not just by the visual impact of that glowing orb in the vast expanse of sky, but more by the supreme intelligence that created it. This thought came to my mind. Life is not static. Like the Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, the only constant is change. But the moon is a constant fixture in the sky even as we go up and down, riding the sometimes turbulent, ever-changing waves of life. At times, we have to take a moment to look up at the moon to find comfort in its constant presence, in its stillness. Just before reaching home, a feeling of calm came over me. I felt that whatever change that comes, I should not be nervous. Change is constant. Change is a constant, inevitable. And if you think about it, it's an opportunity, a chance to start over, to reinvent ourselves, to be better than before. Join me, Ask Karim, on Us at The Process as I talk about creativity, the process of creating, and everything in between. In this first ever episode of Us at The Process, I will be talking about change. Apparently, the moon that I saw the other day is called a strawberry moon, and the star is actually a planet. It was either Saturn or Venus. But at the time, I didn't know that. It seems that the strawberry moon is the last full moon of spring, marking the beginning of summer. What struck me when I saw the moon is this. Has another month gone by already? These days, I feel that time seems to stand still, but also it seems to fly by amazingly fast. Sometimes I feel like we are in limbo, and the next minute, like we're on a high-speed train. I don't really look at the calendar anymore, but I chart the days by how many new Covid-19 cases have been recorded. Just like a lot of small outfits out there, we understand very much how creative businesses are trying to keep themselves afloat. I know one or two organizations that had to close down, especially because they cannot pay the rent anymore. And the sad thing is, it's not because they do not have a good idea or a good concept, but this prolonged MCO, CMCO and so on has hit the arts and creative industry so hard because most of our events and activities require face-to-face engagement. I also know one workspace for creatives near here in Klanajaya that had to close down, and that is so unfortunate because if you have had the experience of working from home, you know that getting interrupted, whether it's by your children, your dog, your cat, your spouse, getting interrupted is one of the most disruptive things to happen. Look, it's not that we don't love them, but creators need a certain solitude, a certain quiet to create, a certain conducive environment. And that is exactly what we at The Process had offered before the MCO. For those of you who are new to us, let me tell you a bit about who and what we are. Trust the Process, or The Process, was set up in 2019 in this cozy double story terrace which we call, you guessed it, The Process, or The Process Klanajaya. Our aim was simple, to provide a space for collaborating and creating. My name is Karim, and I'm the founder of Trust the Process, a niche creative development program that places emphasis on the process of creating as a journey towards understanding the self. I studied architecture a long time ago, sometime in the mid-90s, but have spent most of my working life as a writer, journalist and editor. I actually started my journalistic career as a design journalist writing about architecture, design and lifestyle. I also participate in architectural crit sessions at a local university. And this delving into the design, looking at it from idea to finished form, is also how I look at all creative processes. There are lots of talented people out there, but why are they not producing, creating? We try to get to the root of the problem, to help them see what it is that is making them feel stuck. My partner in this endeavour is my husband Eddie, also known professionally as Musalegro, and he's basically the musical director for TheProcess. He has more than 15 years experience in the field working with various types of people in the hospitality and entertainment industry, but now he works on various projects including animation soundtracks and song arrangements. He also teaches keyboards and piano using a play-by-ear method. Eddie is good with children and tailors the lessons according to their interests so that they don't get bored or sick of music like many young people do after years of grueling lessons and exams. At TheProcess, we're all about self-discovery and getting to know our creative self through the process of creating. Initially, we conducted various experimental workshops and micro-events.
Where is the circle? Where?
On the corner?
On the corner?
Yes.
Where?
This is one of our first events, and it's a storytelling session we did for little children. We had a lot of talented family members volunteering to be the actors, doing makeup and costumes. So, thank you family for all your help. It was great fun. We also introduced a workshop called Draw and Tell. We wanted children to understand how from one story you can come up with visuals and images, illustrations, and also a theme song. Our amazing drawing instructor, Hairul Fazli, aka Naga Karat, helped the children to set up the backdrop, and Eddie also created the theme songs in just a few hours.
It's the vampire killer, yeah.
Finally, towards the end of that year, towards the end of 2019, we decided to organize a women-only weekend writing workshop, and somehow we were fortunate enough to get the most interesting group of women to join. So why only women? Well, for starters, I had more women than men participating in the earlier workshops, and it makes sense to tailor a program just for them. The other more important reason is that as a woman myself who had been struggling with finding the time and mental space to write creatively, I thought if only women could spend just one weekend, 2 whole days, to crank out several stories, they could go home with a sense of achievement and believe that they could write more just by carving out a few hours of quiet time for themselves.
I leave the windows open, anticipating those first drops of water on the hard earth.
We were also the practice venue for several groups that had collaborated with Eddie or that had engaged him as a keyboardist or arranger. Normally, musicians have to book studios for their practice sessions, and sometimes they could only book perhaps 3 to 4 hours at the most. At TheProcess, they could go on for more than 6 hours if needed. How can I forget that time when Caravan of Praise invited a scholar from Yemen to give a talk about the relationship between music and da'wah? It was truly special. So when the new year arrived, we felt that we were going in the right direction. In fact, we were going to launch some children's workshops in March, just in time for the school holidays. Then the worst thing possible happened. We had to go into lockdown. Parents were scared, and as the weeks go by, it looked like children might not be allowed to mingle as freely as before. They were housebound. And of course, we had to offer a refund. This month last year, we emerged from the lockdown from the first MCO feeling victorious. We were so optimistic. And then we opened up TheProcess and welcomed the first batch of Women Right Weekenders post-MCO in July.
Her thoughts drifted to the many times she guiltily wished her dad was still around.
After that first batch, we hosted group after group of wonderful, talented, creative, sensitive, empathetic women of all ages. And it's as if a dam had been broken. Suddenly, people wanted to try new things that they had never done before, like creative writing, sharing personal stories and ideas. It was as if we had emerged from a cave, from darkness to welcome a new dawn. It was a joyous, fulfilling time for both Eddie and I do hope it was a wonderful time for the participants too. There was more than an imperceptible change. I could sense it, I could see it, I could feel it. Some participants came in looking pensive, but after a day of sharing, returned the next day with a bright smile, a lighter step in their walk. And then the Sabah state elections happened. Just as we were getting back on our feet, we had to go into another MCO. But this one was rather confusing because people could still go out and work, but, organizations like us could not hold face-to-face workshops. But, like I said in the opening video essay, the only constant in life is change. And this situation made us decide to offer online workshops. For starters, we offered a Women Right Now and the Right Sessions online. But you must determine what's the trigger point. Rather than think about plots, you wanted to remember her. And that's what came out, right? So we have in our stories for this exercise, we need to create a kind of extreme situation. We were hoping so much to resume normal operations, but as the COVID numbers were getting higher and higher, we knew that this could not happen anytime soon. And now, at present, with the enforcement of total lockdown, we have to make the unfortunate decision of closing TheProcess Klanajaya. Not the program, but the physical space. I mean, we have had an amazing time this past 2 years engaging, connecting with and hosting all of you who have come through our doors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terima kasih sangat-sangat. We feel, we're so appreciative. I remember all your names, your faces, your stories. It was a brief time, 2019, 2020, and a little bit of 2021, but I remember all of you. So this is not the end, of course. Who knows, in 2022 we might be able to hold our physical workshops perhaps somewhere in Terengganu or Mersing, Johor, or in Penang. I don't know. I mean, right now what we want to do is just to focus on finishing our outstanding projects, such as the theme song project we call the Right Sessions, and to strengthen our online workshops, and just to continue creating, because that's what we do, we create. In the next podcast, I will talk about the Women Right Weekend and how you can join our online programs. So till next time, keep on writing, keep on creating.
I feel like I got stressed out.
Tak stress dia, dia relax saya.